Hello Virgo, welcome to your end of June reading. Let's take a look at the energies, messages, and guidance coming through for you as we close out the month. So let's dive right in. You've been feeling eyes on you lately, haven't you? Not in a way that makes you uncomfortable, not in a way that raises your guard, but in a way that's almost warm, like someone left a candle burning in a room you just walked into. You can't see the flame, but you can feel the heat, faint and steady. And every now and then you catch yourself turning around in a crowd or glancing at your phone expecting something that never quite arrives. That feeling isn't your imagination. That quiet, persistent awareness that someone out there is thinking about you, paying attention to you, holding you in their mind long after the conversation ended or the room emptied, that is real. And the person behind it is closer than you think, and they are carrying something inside of them right now that is so full and so heavy and so ready to be spoken that it is changing the very texture of the air between you. I need to set something up before we go any further, because this isn't the kind of message where I'm going to give you a surface level love prediction and send you on your way. What's happening here is layered. What's happening between you and this person has roots that go deeper than attraction, deeper than chemistry, deeper than the usual pull between two people who happen to find each other interesting. This is someone who has been studying you. And I use that word deliberately. Studying, not in a clinical or detached way, but in the way an artist studies a landscape before they begin to paint it, trying to understand the light, the shadows, the textures, the way certain colors shift depending on the time of day. This person has been absorbing you quietly, carefully, with a level of attention that would probably startle you if you could see it from their perspective. They notice the things you do when you think no one is paying attention. The way you adjust yourself when you enter a room full of people, that tiny recalibration that happens so quickly, most people would never catch it. They've caught it. The way your laugh changes depending on who you're with. The real laugh versus the polite one versus the one you use when something genuinely catches you off guard and you can't control it. They know the difference between all three. The way you go quiet sometimes. Not sad quiet, but thinking quiet, like you've stepped behind a curtain inside your own mind to process something privately. They've noticed that too, and instead of finding it distant or cold, they find it fascinating. They find you fascinating in a way that has slowly, methodically, without their permission, become the organizing principle of their inner world. And here's what makes this situation so electrically charged right now. This person didn't plan for this. They didn't wake up one morning and decide to fall for you. There was no calculated approach, no strategy, no conscious decision to start paying this much attention. It happened the way a river carves through stone, not through force, but through persistence, through the accumulation of small moments that individually seemed meaningless, but collectively created something irreversible. A comment you made that lodged in their memory and wouldn't leave. A time you showed kindness to someone in a way that no one else seemed to notice, but they noticed. A vulnerability you let slip, maybe by accident, that showed them a side of you they weren't prepared to see. Each of these moments was a drop of water, and now, looking back, they can see the canyon, those drops carved through the center of their chest. What they're feeling right now is not casual interest. It's not a crush in the way people usually use that word. Something light and fizzy and easy to set down when it becomes inconvenient. What they're feeling is the kind of recognition that rewrites a person's priorities without asking for consent. The kind that makes someone look at their entire life and suddenly see a gap in the shape of you, a space they didn't know existed until you accidentally showed them what it would feel like to have it filled. And that recognition is terrifying to them Not because of you, because of what it means about everything else. Because once you see that gap, once you know it's there, you can't go back to pretending your life was complete without it. I want to tell you something about the way this person watches you, because I think there's a quality to their attention that you deserve to understand. It's not surveillance, it's not obsession, it's reverence. There is a gentleness to the way they hold you in their awareness, a kind of sacred carefulness, like someone handling something ancient and irreplaceable. They don't watch you to gather information or to find flaws or to assess whether you're worth the risk. They watch you because they can't help it. Because your existence has become a kind of gravity for them, and their attention is simply falling toward you the way all things fall toward the center of what holds them. And the thing that's making this so intense right now, the thing that's bringing all of this to a head, is that they've reached a tipping point. There's a threshold in every unspoken love story where the weight of what's unsaid becomes heavier than the fear of saying it, where the cost of silence starts to outweigh the cost of vulnerability. And this person is standing on that threshold right now, one foot on each side, trembling with the knowledge that the next step they take will change everything. They can't stay here, they know that. The middle ground has become uninhabitable. The secret has grown too large for the container they built for it, and every day it presses harder against the walls, threatening to crack them, threatening to spill out in ways they can't control. Let me describe what this looks like from the inside, because I think you need to see it in order to fully grasp what's happening. This person wakes up in the morning and you are the first thing that enters their conscious mind, not because they choose to think about you, because you've taken up residence in a part of their brain that activates before choice does, before intention does, before the day has even begun to take shape. You are there the way the sunrise is there, not because anyone invited it, but because it's simply what happens when the earth turns. They open their eyes, and there you are, a feeling more than a thought, a warmth that spreads through their chest before their feet have even touched the floor. Throughout their day, they carry you. Not conspicuously, no one around them would guess. They've become remarkably skilled at compartmentalizing, at functioning normally while an entire parallel universe plays out inside their head, a universe where they've already said everything they want to say, where they've already reached for your hand, where the distance between you has already collapsed and the silence has already been replaced with honesty. They live in that universe privately, visiting it during quiet moments, during commutes, during the space between sleep and waking, and then they tuck it away and return to the real world where none of it has been spoken, where the gap still exists, where you still don't know what you are to them. But lately, the boundary between those two worlds has started to blur. They're having trouble keeping the secret contained. It leaks through in ways they can't always control. A lingering glance that lasts half a second too long. A message that they write and rewrite 4 times because the first 3 drafts said too much. A moment in conversation where their voice drops half a register without them meaning it to, where something in their tone shifts from friendly to tender and they have to catch themselves and pull back before you notice. Except sometimes you do notice. Sometimes you feel that shift and you file it away without saying anything, and both of you pretend it didn't happen, and the pretending itself becomes another layer of this beautiful, agonizing, increasingly unsustainable dance. Now I need to go somewhere unexpected with this because there's a dimension to this person's feelings that goes beyond romance in the traditional sense. What they feel for you has a spiritual component that they might not even have language for. They don't just want to be with you. They feel like they're supposed to be with you. Like something in the fabric of their life has been pointing toward you for longer than the time they've actually known you. They might have had moments of déjà vu around you, moments where something you said or the way you looked at them triggered a flash of recognition so deep and so ancient that it made the hairs on their arms stand up. They might have had dreams about you that felt more like memories than fantasies, dreams with a weight and a texture that normal dreams don't carry, dreams they woke from feeling shaken and certain of something they couldn't articulate. This is what makes their fear so complex. If this were just attraction, they could manage it. Attraction fades. Attraction can be redirected. But this feeling doesn't behave like attraction. It behaves like destiny. And destiny is a terrifying thing to stare down when you're a human being who's been hurt before. Because if this is destiny, if this connection is truly what it feels like, then the stakes aren't just emotional, they're existential. This isn't about whether a relationship works out or doesn't. This is about whether they're going to honor what their soul is telling them or spend the rest of their life knowing they were too afraid to listen. I can feel something else in this energy that I think is really important, and I don't want to skip over it. This person has been comparing you not to other people they could be with. They're past that. They're comparing every experience in their life to how they feel when they're around you, and everything else is losing. The meal they used to love at their favorite restaurant doesn't taste quite as vivid as the coffee they had that one time sitting across from you. The music they've listened to for years doesn't hit the same as the sound of your voice when you're talking about something you care about. Their own apartment, the space they've curated and decorated and made their own, feels slightly emptier when they come home to it after spending time with you. Not because anything is missing from their life in a material sense, because you've shown them a frequency of aliveness that makes everything else feel like it's been playing at slightly the wrong speed. And they're aware that this is happening. They're not sleepwalking through it. They can feel themselves being reorganized around you. And it's simultaneously the most exhilarating and the most destabilizing thing they've ever experienced. Because this kind of emotional restructuring requires surrender. And surrender requires trust. And trust requires the one thing they've been unable to do, which is to open their mouth and say what's true. I want to shift now and talk about you, because this isn't a one-sided story, and I think you know that. You've felt this person's energy, even if you haven't had the full picture. There have been moments, quiet, fleeting moments, where you sense that something was different about the way this person interacts with you. Something that doesn't fit neatly into the category of friendship or casual connection. An intensity behind their eyes when they listen to you that goes beyond polite interest. A quality of presence they bring to your conversations that feels almost deliberate, as if they're working hard to memorize every word. A way of showing up for you that seems to go slightly above and beyond what the relationship technically requires. You've noticed these things, you may not have dwelled on them. You may have explained them away with rational interpretations, but somewhere in the quiet basement of your intuition, you filed them away under a heading that reads something more. And I think a part of you has been afraid to look too closely at that file. Not because you don't want what might be in it, but because you've been in that position before, the position of reading into things that turned out to be nothing, of interpreting kindness as interest and interest as love and love as forever, only to discover that your interpretation was written on sand and the tide was already coming in. You've been hurt by your own hope before, and that experience taught you to hold your perceptions at arm's length, to double and triple check before you let yourself believe that what you're seeing is real. So even when every cell in your body is saying this person feels something for you, there's a guard at the gate of your heart who says, maybe, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. That guard has served you well. I want to honor that. But I also want to gently point out that the guard doesn't always know the difference between reckless hope and accurate perception. Sometimes the thing you're sensing is exactly what it appears to be, and the guard's job isn't to determine the truth. The guard's job is to prevent entry, regardless of what's at the door. And right now, something extraordinary is at the door. Something real and warm and alive and reaching for you with both hands. And the guard, out of habit, out of old pain, out of the memory of past disappointments, is asking for credentials that love doesn't carry. Here's what I need you to understand about the timing of all this. This person is not going to stay silent for much longer. The infrastructure of their silence is collapsing. I keep getting this image of a dam that's been holding back an entire lake, and for a long time the dam was strong enough, reinforced by fear and pride and self-doubt and all the usual materials that humans use to contain their most vulnerable feelings. But water is patient. Water finds every weakness, every hairline fracture, every point of structural vulnerability. And what this person feels for you has been pressing against that dam with the patience of water for a long time now. And the fractures are spreading faster than they can patch them. When the dam breaks, and it's going to break, what comes out isn't going to be a trickle. It's going to be a flood of honesty, the likes of which this person has never produced before. They're not going to confess one thing. They're going to confess everything. Every moment they noticed, every thought they hid, every time they almost said something and pulled back. Every night they lay awake thinking about you. Every future they imagined. Every fear that kept them quiet. All of it is going to come pouring out. And it's going to be messy and raw and imperfect and probably not at all how they pictured it in their head during all those rehearsals. But it's going to be the truest thing they've ever said. And truthful confessions don't need to be polished. They need to be felt. But here's the part that separates this from every other unspoken love story. This person isn't just planning to confess. They're planning to commit. This isn't someone who wants to tell you how they feel so they can get it off their chest and then see what happens. This is someone who has already made a decision about you. In the privacy of their own heart, the verdict is in. They don't want to date you casually. They don't want to test the waters. They don't want a situationship or a maybe or a let's see where this goes. They want to lock it down. They want to take this undefined, unspoken, electrically charged space between you and give it a name, a real name. They want commitment. They want certainty. They want to wake up next to you and know that you chose them the same way they've already chosen you. And that level of intentionality is rare. In a world where most people are hedging their bets, keeping their options open, maintaining emotional escape routes in case things get too real, this person has already burned their ships. Not publicly. Not in a way you can see yet, but internally, the decision is made. The deliberation is over. They know what they want and they know it's you, and the only remaining variable is the moment of declaration, the moment where internal truth becomes external reality, where the private becomes the shared. Where I've been watching you becomes I'm choosing you. I also want to name something that I can feel very strongly in this energy, and it's a quality of protectiveness that this person carries toward you, not in a possessive or controlling way, in a guardian way. They feel a deep instinctive drive to keep you safe, to shield you from the things that hurt you, to be the person you can turn to when the world becomes too loud or too harsh or too much. They've imagined it. They've imagined being the one who gets the late night call, the one who shows up when things fall apart, the one whose shoulder you rest your head on when you're too tired to pretend you're okay. They want that role, not because they need to be needed, Because seeing you in any kind of pain activates something primal in them, something that predates logic and operates on pure instinct, an instinct that says, this person is mine to protect, even though you don't technically belong to them yet. And yet, alongside that protectiveness, there's a beautiful contradiction, because as much as they want to protect you, they're also in awe of your strength. They see how you handle things on your own. They see the resilience in you, the quiet fierceness, the way you absorb blows that would flatten most people and somehow remain standing. And that strength is part of what draws them in so powerfully. They don't want you because you're fragile and need saving. They want you because you're formidable and they want to stand beside you. They want to be the person who matches your energy, who meets you at your level, who doesn't diminish you or dim you, but amplifies everything you already are. There's a particular memory or moment this person keeps returning to, something that happened between you, maybe recently, maybe a while ago, that crystallized everything for them. It might have been a moment of complete unguardedness on your part. A moment where you let something slip, a fear, a dream, a wound, a hope that you don't normally let people see. And in that moment, they saw all the way through you, not through your walls, through your very self. They saw the tender, unprotected center of who you are, and something in them recognized it. Not recognized as in, oh, that's familiar, recognized as in, oh, there you are, as if they'd been searching for something without knowing what it was, and in that one unguarded moment, the search ended. That memory is what keeps them up at night. That memory is what makes it impossible for them to file you away under just a friend or not the right time or maybe in another life. Because once you've seen someone at that level of depth, once you've glimpsed the raw architecture of their soul, you can't unsee it. It becomes the standard against which everything else is measured and everything else comes up short. I want to speak directly to your heart now because I think there's a conversation happening inside you that you haven't had with anyone else. A conversation about worthiness, about whether you're the kind of person that someone could feel this way about whether you're lovable in the way that this message is describing, not just lovable in theory, not just lovable on your good days when your hair looks right and your life is in order, but lovable in your totality, in your mess, in your contradictions, in the parts of yourself that you've been taught to apologize for or hide or fix before anyone sees them. I want you to hear me when I say that this person doesn't want the fixed version. They want the real one. The unfinished, still figuring it out, sometimes insecure, occasionally chaotic, deeply human, real one. Because that's the one they fell for. Not the version of you that performs well in public. Not the curated highlights. The whole thing. And the fact that someone out there has seen your whole thing and responded not with fear or judgment, but with an overwhelming desire to move closer, that tells you something about the nature of what's happening here. This isn't ordinary attraction doing ordinary things. This is two souls recognizing each other across all the noise and the pretense and the carefully constructed facades that everyone wears to survive in a world that doesn't always make space for authenticity. Now let me address something that I sense might be stirring in you as you take all of this in. A resistance, a part of you that wants to ask, but what if I'm not ready? And I want to tell you something that might reframe that question entirely. Readiness isn't a state you arrive at. It's not a destination on a map where you plant a flag and declare yourself prepared for love. Readiness is something that happens to you in the moment. You stop requiring yourself to have everything figured out before you allow yourself to receive. You don't have to have your life perfectly organized. You don't have to have healed every wound. You don't have to have resolved every insecurity. You just have to be willing to be seen as you are, right now, in this moment, without a rehearsal. And something tells me you're more willing than you think. Something tells me that beneath all the self-doubt and the caution and the "I'm not sure I'm ready," there's a voice, quiet but persistent, that's saying, "I've been ready. I've been ready for someone to see me like this. I've been ready for someone to choose me with their eyes open. I've been ready for something real, and that voice deserves to be heard. Not over all the others, just alongside them. Just loud enough to remind you that your desire for connection isn't a weakness. It's a feature of your humanity. It's one of the bravest parts of you." This message, finding you through Mary's Angel Tarot, is not an accident. There's a reason the timing aligned exactly as it did. There's a reason these words are landing in your heart at this specific juncture in your life. You are being given a heads up, a gentle, loving, spiritually delivered advance notice that someone is about to change the entire landscape of your emotional world. Not by storm, not by force. By finally, at long last, telling you the truth of what you mean to them and asking you to let them in. And when that moment arrives, you're going to feel something ancient settle inside you. A peace that has nothing to do with circumstances and everything to do with recognition. The peace of two puzzle pieces finding each other after being scattered across a table for what felt like forever. The peace of hearing someone say out loud the thing your heart has been whispering to itself in the dark. The peace of knowing that you weren't wrong, that your intuition wasn't playing tricks on you, that the connection you sensed was real, is real, has always been real, and now, finally, neither of you has to pretend otherwise. What I want you to carry with you after this is not just the information that someone out there loves you secretly and completely and is preparing to tell you so. I want you to carry the deeper truth underneath that information, which is that you are the kind of person who inspires that level of devotion, not through manipulation or performance or trying hard to be lovable, just through being who you are, just through existing in the particular way that you exist, with your specific laugh and your specific sadness and your specific way of making the people around you feel like they matter. That is what captured this person. That is what holds them. That is what's making it impossible for them to stay quiet any longer. You are about to be chosen. Deliberately, clearly, unmistakably chosen by someone who has considered every alternative and found them all wanting. Someone who has argued with themselves, negotiated with their own fear, tried every exit door and found them all locked from the inside, and finally accepted that the only way out of what they feel is through it, through the vulnerability, through the confession, through the terrifying, beautiful, life-altering act of looking at another person and saying, "You are what I want, and I'm done pretending otherwise." Let yourself be ready for it. Not in the sense of bracing or preparing or building defenses. Ready in the sense of open. Ready in the sense of soft. Ready in the sense of the earth being ready for rain, not because it did anything special, not because it performed or achieved or earned the rain, but because it simply exists in a state of receptivity that allows what was always coming to finally arrive. This is your moment approaching. This is the love you weren't sure existed, walking toward you with its arms open and its heart in its hands. And the only thing left for you to do is decide whether you're going to meet it where it stands. I think you already know your answer. All right. Thank you so much for watching Mary's Angel Tarot. Take care of your energy, and I'll see you in the next reading. Bye.